You took this investment in international and U.S. I got to ask for your reaction today.
Obviously, one of frustration. There's no question about it. I'm still a huge advocate for the potential of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I'm disappointed, like many other shareholders. It sets, in a way though, I always try and find what is the outcome of something like this. I mean, yes, I'm a shareholder in the international. That's a zero. It's not the first time I've made a bad investment, probably not the last time, but luckily I make more good ones than bad ones, and I learn from my mistakes. What's going to happen now is there won't be another situation like this for institutional investors ever again. We're simply not going to put capital to work until this stuff gets regulated. And what is occurring, and I'm just one voice in it, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to fly to Washington, and I want regulation. I want it now. No more delaying. I think this puts tremendous pressure on the SEC. I think a bill like the Stablecoin Transparency Act, which has been floating around forever, not going to signature, not going to markup. We got to stop doing this to ourselves. As an industry, it has to stop, but also it's time to move forward with regulation. And this is the bottom of the crypto market. A massive player goes to zero, and now you build from the ashes. That's the upside. I am still going to invest in crypto. I lost money in the accounts there. They have a gate on them now. It doesn't stop me from buying more, and I'm going to do just that. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that most of these currencies and tokens and coins have absolutely been beaten into the ground as a result of this, and probably a buying opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
What do you need to see on paper before you would put fresh money into the space again? An actual bill?
Yes, I want to see it. I'd like to start with one thing. I don't think we can solve for every single asset in crypto. I want to do one thing, and that one thing is to pass the Stablecoin Transparency Act. One thing, because that allows us to use the US dollar as a payment system. I would use that in all of my businesses every day. It's far superior to ACH, far superior to SWIFT, far faster, more transparent, 100% audible. All I need is the regulation that forces an audit every 30 days and guarantees me the backup for this is Treasury bills less than 12 months of duration. That's one thing, very simple. That would signal to everybody around the world that the regulators here in the United States are taking crypto on, starting to put rules in place, putting the guardrails on. No one is going to play ball anymore in this space on an institutional level with serious capital till we get it done.
I'm kind of stuck on your comment that you're so confident that this can be the bottom. How can you be confident of that? What do you know about CZ, Binance, BNB coin? How do you know that it's not leveraged, that there are many more dominoes to fall here? We just had someone from another exchange who hasn't even published their board of directors. You invested in FTX, and that wasn't exactly a wise choice. You said you did due diligence, but clearly it wasn't enough.
You know, no. I mean, look, I'm going to agree. It was a terrible investment, 100%, and I lost my money. I get it. I'm a diversified investor. I make mistakes. This is one of them. But I learn from my mistakes. This won't be happening again. If I'm going to put serious capital to work in a broker-dealer, in an exchange, it's going to be one that's regulated, that has transparency, and has the same rules of test that every other exchange that deals in stocks and bonds has. Because, you know, everybody's saying the same thing. It's great to be a retail investor and trade a few $1,000s worth of crypto. And if that's what Binance is going to do, good for them. But every single institutional investor is going to look at this and say, okay, can't play with this structure anymore because there's not enough transparency. I'm going to wait for the SEC or whoever it is going to be, the Fed or whoever, to regulate this stuff. This is actually a turning point for this industry. It's a maturation for this industry. That's what's going to happen.
To needing an emergency lifeline, what is your reaction to all of that?
I want to clarify something before I go deeper into your question. It is not, our investment is not through Delta, not through Consensus Ventures. It's through a fund back I LP'd into from Asia. And the investment was way earlier than the whole $1 billion drama started happening. So we have seen the company being built up, right? I've seen the company from very beginning all the way 19, 20. And it is sad. First of all, I want to say a lot of people are taking pot shots at a big failure in this space. My first reaction is it is sad. My second reaction was I was just amazed the sheer, the level of this, just the way the house of cards went down, and everyone in the world was watching it as it was happening on Twitter. Like there was no announcement, there was no sharing, there was no investor note. In fact, I feel like every investor was scrambling to even figure out it was real or it was some sort of a crypto Twitter joke happening. I remember when we first started seeing it on Twitter and people were like texting on Telegram on each other, is this happening, what is happening, including FTX employees, very senior investors which were in the last round, a round before, which is $32 billion round and much beyond. They also had no idea. So forget about the early investors into the space. In fact, because of Delta, we directly went into seeing which are our other companies who are going to get impacted by this, whether they have treasuries at FTX, whether they have a trading volume at FTX, like where, how, this is the whole cascading impact going to come. And we are still figuring that out. So I think sad, amazement, and unbelievable sci-fi drama is what I would literally call the whole situation.
Some of the crypto exchanges investors are now being scrutinized. Some people are wondering, how could so many big investment firms pour a collective $2 billion with what seems like little due diligence? How could something like this happen? Perhaps, some signs were overlooked, do you think?
I think crypto, at least in last two cycles, to be honest, whether it was end of 17 or it was this time, the FOMO from the traditional funds were crazy because they had the capacity to raise multi-billion dollars. They didn't really have the track record or the expertise to go deeper diligence into the space. And even some of them do, they have some of the best technology people they were able to hire over time. They didn't really use all the resources internally just to get into the hottest deal out there. And people inside who have been in the space for a long time have been talking about this, saying, what are the diligence metrics of it? How much balance sheet do you look? I mean, everybody on the street knew there is a close connection between Alameda and FTX. When they invest, it's always two of them together. One, you get a trading platform on FTX, Alameda is on your balance sheet, on your cap table. But during the diligence, did people really ask for Alameda's diligence also as the part and parcel of it? I doubt it. So I feel like it is like the way it happens on Wall Street, the way it happens in the Web2 world. When a particular segment, sector, or a founder gets really hot, people just keep on, who's the next one you're going to dump into? Like, this reminds me of the WeWork era, to be very honest with you.
Interesting. I was going to ask you that, how would you categorize this whole situation? Because I spoke with some people who say this is crypto's Lehman moment. I spoke with people who say this reminds them of the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, or the Theranos controversy, or the fall of Enron, or, even comparing it to the .com bubble that burst. Some people say this is a cleansing time for crypto, just like in the 90s when the internet was going through its cleansing period and only the strong survived, like Amazon. So how would you categorize it? Do any of those analogies resonate with you?
I think combination of all of them, right? Because all the examples which you took were like, the perception was this is the most successful thing you can do. And then suddenly people are like, oh my God, what the hell happened here? And I think it was the same thing just a month back, 2 months back, when all the companies out of Celsius and 3AC were basically going down. Sam was being called as the crypto Jesus, right? Coming, saving everything, and like trying to have a bailout plans for BlockFi and Voyager and a bunch of other places, without us realizing that it was a house of cards which can basically get smashed anytime, right? So it is that unexpected. Lehman, because they did go for a bailout and everybody was like, of course it has to be bailed out, otherwise the industry would die, and they didn't get a bailout. There is a cascading impact, but the industry is going to continue. For me, it is way more closer in my memory or the way I connect with it as WeWork, because you had a charming CEO who just walked in, kept on pushing for the valuation, and the underlying promises or the reality was very, very different, but you were able to outsmart some of the so-called smartest people in the space.
So according to a new bankruptcy filing, there could be more than 1 million creditors, a lot more than we initially anticipated. What do you think the impact of that is?
You know, having 1 million accounts, that's huge number, especially at the global level. Especially when everybody, even from the traditional world, is talking about hitting recession. It is very, very sad. How can they all come together to have a class action lawsuit in Bahamas? How much does the US system works? I think this is going to be an interesting play to watch. How is that going to come together, whether people get the money? It does remind me of Mount Gox, all the way back in early 2010s. But uh, the difference out here between Mt. Gox and this is a lot of it was regulated. At least FTX US was very regulated. So we want to see, does that make US actually and the regulations around it way more favorable for people with respect to trust? If at least FTX US creditors get it, and then now we are figuring out what's happening in Bahamas. So all these island registered entities now have extra risk associated with them.
When it comes to future investments in the world of crypto, how does due diligence evolve in your view?
I just feel like this has opened up a lot of questions for investors, right? Even for us internally at Delta, we are rethinking about, oh, we should be asking, when once people raise money, where are they keeping that money? Something which we have never really asked. How are their treasury management solutions are? If we are investing into OTC platforms or exchange platform or on-ramp, off-ramp solution, what are their risk measurements? And are they going to share their risk management toolkits every 3 months with us? And even at the small project side, how is the risk management for treasury? I think it has definitely created a whole new section on a diligence document which has to be filled today. Said that, to be very honest with you, we are in a bearish market. We are going much more towards the all-time low in next 2-3 months. But I doubt 90% of the people are going to remember it once the all-time high comes and